welcome to part 2 of the Bearded Gamer Show's Wii U special. All right, I'm your host as always, the Bearded Gamer, Chris Arnone. Now, if you've been following all the news, you know everything there is to know about the Wii U right now, well then you probably don't need part 1. That's what I do. But if not, I'm going to talk about a whole lot of stuff and you're going to be pretty darn lost. So here's the link to my first part of the video where I just divulge every piece of information we currently have about the Wii U following today's press conferences at the time of this filming. So now you know exactly when I filmed this, all right? So let's get in first off to what we don't know. Now, for as many questions were answered, it seems there were still a lot of questions left unanswered or even raised after these press conferences. So first off, what's been at the top of my mind for a while now, the CPU and the GPU. All we know at this point is the CPU is an Intel-powered multi-core processor, and the GPU is an AMD Radeon-powered GPU. Okay, that's not that helpful. Both of these companies have been around making processors for a while. There have been dual-core processors for a long time. Is it something nice like an i7? Is it not so something nice? Now, I'm not expecting super uber high-end graphics. You know, I think if you sat a GTX 690 card next to a Wii U, the graphics card might actually dwarf the entire console. But you know, it's definitely HD graphics, but exactly what are we talking about? What are the benchmarks? What are the specs? Now, while we're on that subject, let's talk about the gamepad, all right? We saw some cool stuff, but I wonder, does it have a processor in it? See, the Kinect originally was supposed to have a processor, but in the end, they ended up taking it out of it. So there's all this input that has to go into the 360. And this is the reason, to me at least, why the games for Kinect that focus on Kinect have been rather mediocre, because the 360 is having to work so hard just to interpret all the data that has to come in from the Kinect that it can't really do a nice, awesome, hardcore AAA title like we would hope it would do. So that's sort of what I'm wondering about the gamepad. Does the gamepad have a processor in it? How much of this mysterious processing power the Wii U has is going to be dedicated just to dealing with not only inputs from the gamepad, but output back to the gamepad? That's what I really want to know. So launch titles, we don't know a whole lot. Like I've said, at this point we've got 3. This is something I'm not too terribly worried about because this information will come as we get closer and closer to the release date. But I think if they want to be successful, they've got to have a strong lineup of third-party titles, okay? The first party's there. They need the third party as well. Cost of an extra gamepad. Now, this is something that they announced in the Japanese, and they said it's, if you were to translate it from yen into American dollars, about $175 for a standalone gamepad. And the Wii U is supposed to support 2 gamepads at once, in addition to all the Pro controllers and Wii controllers and all that stuff. But we don't know in the West, or Europe, Europe or North America, how much those extra gamepads are going to cost, but I cannot imagine it'll be cheap. Prices of the games, that's another question that's come up. Are we still going to see the standard $60 game price for just across the board? Are we going to see the flexible pricing like we've finally seen with the PlayStation Vita? Or are they going to give us a sort of next-gen console tax and bump us up to like $70? At this point, we really just don't know. Movies. This is something I've wondered about. Can it play DVD? I mean, obviously it's not going to play Blu-ray because they've said they've decided to go with this sort of Wii U game disc that stores 25 gigabytes. Perhaps what they're really deciding to do is just embrace that DVDs are going away, that people are switching to digital. And with the addition of Wii TV, that does sort of lend itself to that particular route. I think they've also embraced the fact that you cannot ignore the general entertainment capabilities of a game console. It has to do more than just games. How many 360s are selling because of all of those other features at this point? And finally, of course, the big question on everyone's mind still, online. What is the Wii U's online strategy? Will it be more of a standard friends list that we're more accustomed to with other things like the PS3, the 360, or Steam? Will we be able to get in games and play online with strangers, all right? People like to do that. Or will this just sort of be a revamped version of the Friends Code that we're all still going to despise? None of that was even brought up. We have no answers on that question at all at this point. So let's get into some analysis, all right? Those are all the questions that are still up in the air. Let's talk about what we do know. First off is price. Now, $300 and $350 are the starting price points. And already some people are crying a lot, oh, that's too much money. Why are they charging this much? The GameCube was only $200 when it came out. That was a while back, buddy, all right? Things have changed a little bit. First off, let's consider that the gamepad is probably the most expensive video game controller that's ever been made that is mandatory. All right, yeah, you can get some really expensive fighting sticks But you don't need those to play any of your games, really. Those are just optional. But for something that is actually needed to operate the system, that gamepad has got to be far and away the most expensive controller manufactured. So let's adjust for inflation to give you a little better idea. Okay, so the year is 2012. The original Nintendo Entertainment System, adjusted for inflation, was $426. The Super Nintendo was $336. The N64, $292. The infamously cheap GameCube, inflation, $258. The Wii, not that far away, $285. So the average of all of those, not including the Wii U prices, is approximately $320. So are you still going to complain about a $300 console and a $350 console? I think it's a little difficult, especially when that $350 one comes with a game. And if we're going to compare that right now, yes, you can get an Xbox 360 for cheaper than $300. You can go and get a PS3 for $300, and that is including more memory. But this is a brand new console that's just hitting the market. So I think the price point is just about right. Now, whether Nintendo's going to actually make money on these consoles like they traditionally have, the jury's still out on that one. Let's talk about the launch, okay? Nintendo Land is good. It's sort of like Wii Sports. It very much is going to showcase what the console can do. Now, New Super Mario Bros. U, that is a system seller because every Nintendo fan is going to want to go play that new game and will go out and buy that new console to play that new game, all right? So that is absolutely huge that they have locked that one into the launch window. Obviously, lesson learned from the 3DS. You need to have a big Nintendo first-party title right there out the gates to get people to want to go and upgrade. Now, the other one that's confirmed for the launch is Darksiders 2. It's going to have extra content. They're saying about 5 hours extra and some extra features with the gamepad. But I'm really worried about these older games that are now going to be coming over to the Wii U. I think Nintendo is really overestimating how much people are going to want these games. Because the thing is, I can go and get a lot of these older games cheaper on other consoles. Yes, you're bringing me additional features, but Mass Effect is, that came out in February or March, Mass Effect 3, Arkham City, that was last year. How are they expecting people to go out and pay, brand new game prices for games that are already months or even over a year old? I don't really care what new features you're adding to it. I'm just not willing to go and do that. And I think most other core gamers are not willing to go and shell out that kind of money for an older game. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's more interest than I think. Maybe they'll even discount these game prices. I mean, you think about it, WB Games has already made their money on Arkham City. So maybe they're just trying to recoup the expenses they made of sort of upgrading it and adjusting it for the Armored Edition. So maybe they'll come out and be like, hey, $30, you get Arkham City with all these new features. That's going to pull more people in, but we'll have to wait and see. What I think they need for the launch, all right? Now I got this sort of in categories. First off, I think it would be awesome if they brought out Wii Fit U at launch. Reason being, the non-gamers, all right? People love Wii Fit. So to evolve Wii Fit U and say, hey, we're going to use this gamepad, I think it's a good way to sell that new interface to the non-gaming public, the Joe Schmo that doesn't care about, Mario Brothers or Darksiders or some of these other things. Black Ops 2. Now here's the thing. Black Ops 2 is coming out on everything else 5 days before the Wii U launches. So if it's a launch title, that's pretty close. I think some people would be willing to wait 5 days to get the Wii U version if they add enough value to it. That could get some of the dude bros. Now, it's not going to be a huge effect because, as I've said before, Call of Duty is more about community than about gameplay. So if one guy is going to go buy Black Ops 2 for Wii and the Wii U, it means he and his 5 or 6 buddies have all agreed to go and do it as well. So we'll have to see, but I really think that could help. And finally, I think if they were able to get either Zombie U or Rayman Legends right out the gates, that would be huge. A big, exclusive, third-party title would do a lot for the core gamer that aren't necessarily really big Nintendo fans, like this guy. So, another question, of course, we're going to talk about. One of those unanswered questions. Is it more powerful than a PS3 or a 360? Now, it's got much more RAM. We know that right out the gates. We don't have the specs on the CPU and the GPU. So it still makes me wonder, is this the last of the 7th generation or the first of the 8th? Is this some weird sort of generation 7.5 thing that's going on? It seems to me, from what we can tell so far, it is more powerful than a PS3 or a 360, but my PC will still blow it out of the water. So what does that mean? Because I remember when the PS3 and the 360 came out, You could not build a computer that could compete with it at anywhere close to the prices they were being sold for. And it doesn't really seem that way with the Wii U. But of course, yeah, this is sort of what Nintendo does. Is they say everybody else is going down this path for the next generation. We're going to go this way. They're advancing. They're in the HD generation because admittedly the Wii looks terrible on my 55-inch television. It's just too big for those graphics. So to upgrade that would be really nice. But they're still saying, but our real innovation is this way. And I really think that gamepad is a big innovation for gaming. So I think moving forward, what's going to happen, what we're going to see is each console will have to differentiate. Each console, while they're all going to have HD and all this power, it's really that added value that the particular console can bring to your games. It's no longer about, well, we both carry these games, or maybe we're both going to have different kinds of DLC to pay for. But it's having different functions, different ways to play your games. That's what's truly going to differentiate the different consoles. So, like I said, Nintendo's trying to prove you don't need the best tech to innovate. You just need the most creative tech. So, for instance, if we're talking about differentiating, my most anticipated game, hands down, that is being produced right now is BioShock Infinite. Now, let's say, for instance, on Kinect, they're going to offer up, now this is hypothetical, none of this has been announced, none of it might even happen. But let's just theorize, okay? Maybe if you have a 360 in Kinect, you can call out voice commands to Elizabeth, tell her to hold off, stay put, move forward, whatnot, so you can protect her better. Maybe you could also yell out the names of plasmids, and your character will change the plasmid that he's using. All right, so that's an option. But of course, having played Mass Effect 3 on 360, I know there were several times I had to yell out a command more than once before the system would actually recognize what I was saying. But at the same time, it's hands-free. There's no stop in the action. Now let's talk Wii U with the gamepad. So what if our plasmid wheel is right here? What if our selection of weapons is also right there on the screen? It doesn't have to interrupt or get in the way of what we're doing, and a touch interface can sometimes be a little easier than navigating wheels where you got to stop and then release a button. We've all gotten pretty used to it, but of course we all still miss occasionally when we're trying to select something, we select something different. I don't know how many times I actually went into Reaper form when I was trying to select a different ability in Darksiders 2. So like I said, it's about, how are the different consoles going to differentiate what they can offer, how you control the game on their particular consoles. To me, the gamepad, as I've said before, is like the DS on a bigger scale, and the DS revolutionized portable gaming. All the things you could do with that second screen and the microphone, and in this case, it's also bringing cameras that go both directions. There's just so much there. So the bottom line, I gotta wrap this up, right? For my money, there's just nothing there that I really, really want. I'm not a big Nintendo fan. I've put that out there before. For me, I need a good story to drive me forward in a game. I played New Super Mario Brothers, and I was like, this is great. It's good gameplay. And I played it for a couple hours, and I'm like, it's good. It's good gameplay. But that didn't drive me forward to, find out how does it end? How does it change? It didn't pull me along. And I know some people, the gameplay is all they need, and it's fantastic, and they love it. And Super Mario sells like crazy every time because of that. But it's not for me. And nothing in the launch titles or in the launch window is enough to make me commit to $300 to $350 right now. But this innovation is game-changing. And we'll have to see how it carries through. Because here's the big question. When the Wii U launches, I firmly believe it will be the coolest and possibly the best home console on the planet. I think it's going to be at least, if not more powerful than the PS3 and the 360. You add in that gamepad and what that's going to do, it's going to be the coolest on the planet. But here's the thing. In about a year, we're going to see the next generation come. And at that point, the power, the horsepower, is going to blow the Wii U out of the water from what we can tell so far. Will the Wii U be able to withstand that? I think the next year is going to be fantastic for the Wii U. The question is, how will it do after that when the 8th generation finally comes? We'll just have to wait, watch, and witness it together. All right, there's my lowdown on the Wii U. Stay tuned next week. I'm going to have my awesome friend Matt Ashbaugh, who's another bearded gamer and a big Nintendo fan, on the show, and we're going to debate the loves, the hates, everything about the Wii U and what's coming down the pipeline. Till then, we'll see you next time.